What's going on? Jake here with Uncommon EDC, and today we're checking out prepping gear from CountyComm. And we've checked out a ton of gear from CountyComm in the past, but never from the perspective of a prepper. And so the reason we're kind of diving into this now is I've mentioned a few times on the Just a Tip live stream that I host with my partner and co-host Tim over at Tim's School of Fish, that prepping is really what got me into the gear side of EDC. I was already EDCing from my days as a Boy Scout, but really got into the gear because of prepping, and I've been wanting to get back into that. And I'm guessing I owe a lot of that to Jesse McJames and Randy's WSG, who recently started a live stream of their own that airs every other Thursday and is centered around prepping, so thanks to them for that. But I mentioned this to Michael over at CountyComm, and I had asked him about a very specific item, let him know I wanted to get back into prepping, and he said, you know, now's a great time to get back into prepping because of everything that's going on, but also CountyComm has a bunch of gear that's great for preppers. Can I send you a starter pack? And so he sent me over a ton of gear, a lot more than I expected, to be honest, and so really excited to check all this out. Worth noting, I'm going to try and be somewhat brief on each of these. I'm not going to go in depth on them in this video, but a lot of them will get their own videos in the future or be part of larger kits in the future, so we'll see that. So let's go ahead and dive in. First item he sent over was this 10-liter roll top waterproof stuff sack. This material is RPVC, and it's a 10-liter dry bag, and the whole thing's not going to fit on the screen, but did want to unroll it to show these attachment points on the top and bottom. Now, this does ship with some straps, so you can wear this as a backpack, or you can use this inside of your backpack as part of the overall kit, but it does have a 10-liter capacity, so it would be a great standalone bag as well. And so obviously most of this material is waterproof, the exception being the top. And so the way this works is you just roll it up when you're done and clip it closed. We'll show that in a moment here, but dimension wise, 22 inches tall, 11.75 inches wide, and this collar opens up to about 8 inches in diameter, and so you can stuff a ton of gear. Make sure you leave yourself a few inches at the top, and then once that's fully loaded out, you have that little bit of extra space. Just roll it about an inch or so. You can see this nylon strap will act as a nice guide, and roll it a couple times, maybe 2 or 3 times, and then you can just clip it to itself. And you see it has these clasps here. Clip it to itself, it's going to seal it up. That seam is no longer exposed. The only parts that are exposed are that waterproof material, and so a nice dry bag. And 10-liter capacity, this is pretty large. Was pretty surprised by the price once I saw this. Actually, I picked up a 10-liter dry bag pretty recently for around $60, and this one is listed at $39.95, but it's on sale right now for $19.95, so really cheap price to get a really great quality dry bag, and my coupon code does work on that as well, so you can save even a couple more dollars. Now, next item is one I'm really excited about, and this is the auxiliary 5-volt USB solar panel kit. Comes in this nice felt case. This is not going to be waterproof, however, because it's felt and it's just secured with Velcro, but it is nice and padded to keep the solar panel protected. And so we can get this out of here and see this really nice 9x6 solar panel. And so 9 inches wide, 6 inches tall here, and has a USB female connector here so you can charge your USB devices. 5 volts as the name implies, and that's going to be in peak conditions. So right now it's pretty gloomy and rainy, so you're not going to be able to get 5 volts out of here, but on a nice sunny day in direct sunlight you should be able to. And this is a really great addition to like a bug out bag, but also an at-home kit you can put in your blackout box. If you have a power outage, throw this out in the backyard and charge your devices. And it doesn't work with every single device, so it's something to be aware of ahead of time before you get into that situation. And so for like an iPhone, for example, they need a consistent voltage at a certain level that solar panels aren't going to hit, and they're also not consistent, and so they have software that prevents solar panels from charging them. And so for those, you're going to want to pair this with like a battery backup, and you can use this to charge the backup, but use the backup to charge your phone or devices that aren't compatible with it. And a lot of those have pass through, so they can be charging while also outputting to that phone, so you can still use them at the same time, but you do need that acting as your middleman. And so really cool device. It also works with a lot of the CountyComm gear, including the next item that we're going to take a look at. These are also only $14.95, pretty impressed with this. We're definitely going to do more testing with it, but I may order a few more of these because at that price point, really nice to have a couple of them on hand. And so let's move that one out of the way, get into our next item. And this is the item that I had actually initially asked about, something that I had never added to my preps previously when I was into prepping, and so wanted to start with this item. And this is the CountyComm GP7 SSB Gen 4 general purpose radio. And so I never really had comms as part of my preps, and so definitely wanted to address that here. Now this is a receiver only. I still do need to add two-way communication, but thought this would be a cool way to get into a radio and check out like ham and GRMS frequencies before getting my license and all of that other equipment. It's a nice way to receive the news even if you're not transmitting. And so things like the recent AT&T outage that affected a ton of customers, you can still get news when you don't have cell signal, or if there's a blackout, a power outage, whatever the case may be, it might be nice to have a radio on hand. I know in California when there's earthquakes, a lot of the times it's hard to text or call because the cell phone frequencies are just get blocked by everyone calling saying, hey, I'm okay, did you feel that? And so cool to have a secondary source to get some extra news. Now I still need to learn how to use this. I will be making a separate video on this one, so don't pretend to be an expert on these types of radios, but you can see on the back a ton of different frequencies. This is the kind of sequel to the GP5, and so a lot more frequencies. You have a battery that's replaceable now, and it's a 1,000 milliamp battery. You can charge it here on the radio itself. They also sell a extended runtime kit, which they sent over as well. This runtime kit's $14.95. It comes with two of those 1,000 milliamp batteries and the charger, and so you can be charging there while also using the radio, or charging the radio as well, and so charging two batteries at once, which is nice. This radio, along with all the accessories you see in the box, minus that run kit, which was separate, is $98.95, and it comes with the radio itself. It comes with a carrying case, AM high frequency antenna. You have the USB charger as well as a pair of headphones. This does have headphones, but it also has a regular speaker. But if you want to use it quietly, you can pair that with some headphones. You also have a very long stainless steel antenna that's replaceable. I actually ended up ordering a replacement just to have one on hand as a backup, which they definitely recommend. Nothing wrong with the one that ships with it, but you should always have a backup antenna. So I did pick one of those up. And you can do direct tuning on here, and again, all of these different frequencies as well. And so definitely look forward to seeing more of that on the channel in the future. Aside from that, they have a bundle right now where they send one of these silicone sleeves, which are usually $10. And you can see there's a cutout for your tuning and volume control as well as your charger, and then the headphone port, antenna port, and antenna. And so you can all use those while in this sleeve. They sell them in a couple different colors. I don't know if you always get black or not. Black is perfectly fine with me, but nice way to protect that radio too, especially if you're going to be using it outside of the house. And so just making sure you're keeping that protected. And so that's not always included, but it has been for a while included in that bundle. And so let's move that one out of the way and get this dock kit here. And we've seen this on the channel before. This is the X-Pack Extreme Dock Bag by Meritac. You can see X-Pack material, and I have a couple of these. These are really great for, I mean, you can use them as a dock kit. I don't think I ever have, but they're great as like modules where you can have different colors of them that represent different types of gear. And so even if they're not in a bag, maybe this is on a shelf in your closet, you have a green one that represents, you know, comms, and an orange one that represents fire and food, and a red that represents first aid, or whatever the case may be. You can use these as modules. They fit a bunch of gear. They're just kind of cavernous, and so no organization on the inside, but these are pretty weatherproof themselves. Now they're not going to be as waterproof as our dry bag, but they do have the YKK AquaGuard zippers, and the X-Pack is based off of sailcloth, and so that's automatically UV resistant, weather resistant. The only reason it's not fully waterproof is it doesn't fully hit the closure here, and so if you submerge this in water, it will fill with water eventually, but just in a storm or anything like that, no water is getting in here, which is nice. And so we're just going to randomly pull items from here because, like I said, it's kind of a cavernous storage, and so that's just dumped in there. But we'll randomly pull items, starting with these items on the top, which are flat pack rolls of duct tape. You can see black, international orange, zombie green, all three colors that these are available in. And I left these vacuum sealed because I actually have other versions of these from other companies. I also have the Meritac ones that I've opened already, and so I didn't need to open these because I don't need them yet, but it's nice that they come vacuum sealed. You can obviously store them with no problem without that vacuum sealed, but just keep in mind the edges are going to be a little bit sticky, so you might get, like, I have a dog, and so dog hair is going to get on there for sure, and so that's not going to affect the adhesive on the rest of them, but something I keep in mind when I have these vacuum seals, and might as well leave it until I need it. And so these are $4.85 each. You get 22.5 feet of tape, and they're 2 inches wide. And so you might be wondering, why is this a prepper item? But there's 1,000 things you can do with duct tape, and I think most preppers know that duct tape's one of the most versatile tools out there, really just limited by your imagination. You know, you can use it to patch something up, you can use it as cordage, you can use it as a wick. These aren't going to catch a spark, but they are a very nice wick, and they will hold a flame for a long time if you have a lighter that you can pair with them. You can slap this onto a surface and write on it so that you can leave a note behind. You can use it for other types of signaling. These are obviously pretty high vis, so if you just tape it to a tree branch to let people know which direction you're heading and that you pass through there, you can use it for that. Like I said, really just limited by your imagination. So all three colors, you have your standard black and then your bright orange and bright green, which are nice and high vis. Again, $4.85 each, and I already have a few of these, but never hurts having these. Next up, we have the Tinder Fire Starter, and so this is a 10-pack, and these are $2.95, so pretty affordable. These also came sealed up. I opened them up just to see what they look like, and these are probably going to be pretty familiar to anyone who's ever bought in this style of fire starter. And so these are CountyComm's version, but these little capsules, and there's some sort of impregnated material with the flammable material, and so you want to use these, you want to fluff them out and kind of separate the fibers so that they can catch a flame, but do burn hot and catch a flame nicely. And you can probably even get away with cutting them in half a lot of times if you have a fire starter, like if you're not having to have a nice bed to throw those sparks in it, but you have a lighter, you might be able to get away with just using half of these, so just cutting them in half. But they come with 10 of them. The packaging is resealable, so it's a nice Ziploc, so should also be pretty weatherproof on its own as well. And so next up is another tape item, and this is one I have already. I don't know why I opened this because, again, that end ends up sticky, but this does come vacuum sealed as well. But this is their glow tape, and really great because it glows in the dark. It does require a charge, of course, but it glows really vibrantly. I think this is one of the first shorts that I ever made on the channel, was a lighter that I had wrapped in this and just showing how well it glows. And so it does glow very nicely. They also make a thicker one. This one's about 0.4 inches thick, and you get 15 feet of it, but there's one that's about an inch thick, and so I do have both of those already. But really great to just be able to add on to gear, like a lighter, if you want to make a little survival lighter that you have some jute wrapped around it and some glow-in-the-dark tape so it's easy to find and that sort of thing. Really great for that because you can make items that don't normally glow in the dark, and these are pretty affordable as well at $4.25 for this slimmer sized roll. And I guess I might as well start leaving items here on the table because we have space now. So next up is a new item that I don't think is actually out yet. This is their Ultra Compact Floodmaster, and you may be able to see that right here. This is listed as coming out, I think, April 4th. One thing I want to note with all of the gear on CountyComm is, if you're interested in it, sign up for notifications, because a lot of times what they'll do is this will say April 4th, but they might release a small early run at a discounted price, and you only really know about it if you're signed up for their newsletter, or you see it on Instagram, or just happen to be checking the site that day. And so a lot of the items that I show, I get in that early access, and so they'll usually be, you know, $10 cheaper or something when that's the case, and you can save a little bit of money, also get them early, which is great. And so this is a pretty cool flashlight, great prepper flashlight. I know exactly why they sent this one over. It does take a 14500 battery, which it doesn't ship with, although they sell them on their site. And those you can usually recharge. They sell chargers for those as well, but it will also take a regular AA. So in most scenarios, it's great to use that 14500 if you have it and you can recharge it, and maybe paired with that solar panel, you can recharge it. But if you need to replace that battery, it's a replaceable battery, which is important because you have some lights where you can't access a battery or they use proprietary batteries, and it's replaceable with something you can find at most gas stations and grocery stores, which is a AA. Now, you're not going to get the same output out of it. This is 760 lumens with the 14500, but only about 300 in turbo on that AA. Really simple operation as well. You probably saw there's no buttons on here or anything. It's just a twist operation. There's a strobe mode that we might get into, so strobe warning, skip forward 30 seconds if you're sensitive to that, but I'm just gonna cycle through them, and to do so you just twist it on and then off quickly and back on, and you go into your next mode. So now we're a little bit brighter, twist on again, off again, we're into that low mode, and you can keep doing that and cycle through those different modes. I forget exactly how to get into that turbo. I think there's like a pods that you do or something like that. There we go. And so really simple operation in those main modes, which I like. And then you have these lanyard holes on the back so you can attach it to a lanyard. I love the color on this also, just that kind of light blue anodization on those aluminum handles. But really cool light, pretty small. I didn't write the dimensions down on this, but it's a little bit larger than a AA battery, so pretty compact as well. And this is more of a floodlight than a beam, so that's nice as well. Now getting to the next items, I think there's two of these. I'm actually not going to go random. I'm going to try and find both of them. And so these are titanium survival cards, similar to Grim Workshop, but these ones are made out of titanium instead of steel, which is pretty cool. They have some others of them as well, but they sent over the fishing kit as well as the sewing kit. And so the fishing kit has obviously ton of different hooks and things like that, but the sewing kit has buttons and sewing needles that if you were to lose a button on your shirt, pants, jacket, whatever the case may be, you have an extra button as well as sewing needle. You do need to make sure obviously you're carrying some thread with it because it does not come with thread. Only thing I'll mention on these ones is I had their titanium lockpick card and I didn't store it in a cool, dry place. Definitely make sure these are out of direct sunlight in a cool place, because what happened with the lockpick one is that adhesive backing ended up melting a little bit to the back of the card. And so it didn't affect the overall use of them, but it did leave just like a sticky residue on the back and holes in that adhesive backing. And so as long as you store it dark and cool, you should be fine. But did want to point that out. Now these are titanium, listed at $14.95 each, and they do have some other ones besides that lockpick as well. And most of those aren't removable tools. They'll be like referential, so like Morse code card or hand signal cards and stuff like that. So a lot of cool titanium cards available from CountyComm. Next up, nearing the end here, one we've actually seen on the channel before. This is the SHTF Survivalist Fire Kit, and these are listed at $7.95. Really affordable, especially when you compare it to like the comparable ExoTac version of these. And this is a emergency fire starter with the ferro rod, and there's actually a feature I missed on the first go around of this one, and so we can show that here. But basically this can sit on your keychain. It screws off to expose a replaceable ferro rod, so this also can just be unscrewed, and they sell the replacement consumables, the O-ring and the ferro rod on the site. And so this can screw onto the back and is immediately ready to use. It gives you a nice handle on there. Now the feature I'm missing is there's a small screw-in part that you may be able to see right here in the middle. And so although it acts as a nice long handle, if you want it to, you can also remove this and it exposes a striker. And so I'm not going to strike here because my cutting board here is wrapped in vinyl, and so it'll leave little holes on it if I spark on it. But we'll hopefully make a video on this one in the future, and a really, really cool, affordable little fire starter, again, especially compared to like that ExoTac version of this. And the nice thing is, if you have another striker, you don't need to use that one. Your handle does end up being pretty long here, and so you get a nice handle and a bunch of usable ferro rod there. And so that's a cool one, and only $7.95. Rounding out the list here, so we're almost to the end. We have our just case for that flashlight that we saw earlier. It does have a diffuser and a lanyard that you can attach to it. I'm gonna get the stop kit out of the way. And this last item is one that I actually ordered, got lost in the mail, so not CountyComm's fault. It's still missing. I still have a case open. I know that it'll eventually either show up or they'll refund me because I did have route protection. But I ordered this one during the early access window, and this is their Survival Flame Vault match. And so they're not the only company that makes something like this, but this is probably the most premium one ever made. What this is a reusable match. And so it kind of looks like a miniature Zippo. It's a little bit smaller than the size of our Zippos. And these are $49.95. The early access, I think, was $39.95. Either you can see they're serialized at, this is $675 out of 1,000. They also just did an Ultimate version. You can see attached to your keychain, this unscrews. We have a ferro rod on the side here, and you fill this with Zippo fluid, And that match that comes out is titanium body. We have an O-ring to keep the Zippo fluid from evaporating. We have a small striker, and then we have a wick in here. And you run that striker after filling this with Zippo fluid. You run that striker along the ferro rod, throw some sparks. Again, not going to do that here because of my vinyl, but it will act as a match, and you can leave it lit, light whatever you're lighting, blow it out, put it back in, and ready to go again. And so this is a really cool item. So I mentioned other companies have made these in the past. Usually they are plastic with just a steel case around them, but this one is a solid block of titanium, and so all titanium construction, no plastic on the inside, and it does ship with a full consumables kit, including replacement ferro rods, rings, keychains, wicks, all of that thing, and a sticker matching the serial number on the bottom. And so I just thought this was a really cool item, and one that I'm glad to see them making. And they also have that Ultim version, so if that's what you're into. I don't know how that one works exactly, if it's all Ultim or if it has a liner on the inside. I would assume it's all Ultim because Ultim's pretty heat resistant on its own and fireproof on its own. So I would assume that one is also all Ultim. But you can put this in while there's still an ember. It's not going to ignite or anything like that. You don't have to worry about that. Once you dip it back into that fluid, it's just going to put out your ember. So if that's something you're worried about, you don't need to. But you can attach your keychain to either the match itself or the body, this little canister that the match sits in, depending on what your preference is. But that's everything that they sent over. Would love to hear your thoughts on these down in the comments below. A lot of cool gear, really appreciative of them. I've been a customer of CountyComm for well over a decade. This is the first time any of the stuff that you're seeing on the channel was sent to me for free. Everything else that's ever been on the channel from CountyComm has been purchased with my own money, but super appreciative of them, and do have a coupon code that can save you some money as well while also helping out the channel, Uncommon EDC, but all of those details will be in the description. But would love to hear your thoughts on this down in the comments. As usual, if you enjoyed the video, consider liking, commenting, subscribing, hitting the notification button, or joining the channel as a member for exclusive content and early access. And I hope you have a great one. Take care.